Hey, what's going on, guys? Kane Bomb here, and welcome to my new series, Curious Crossover, where I take a character or creature from one IP and fuse it with the mechanics of another IP to see how it would fit in to that IP. Today, I will be doing Dark Magician into DND. The reason I chose this was because I am a big fan of both Yu-Gi-Oh! And D&D, and I was curious to see how it would fit into each other. Now, to start off, I would like to talk a little bit of the background of Dark Magician. The Dark Magician is a combination of two entities, the first of which being Mahad, a loyal high priest of the Pharaoh Atem. He served the Pharaoh as one of the six sacred guardians who wielded the Millennium items along with the Pharaoh to keep justice in Egypt. The item that Mahad wielded was the Millennium Ring, giving him various abilities such as control over the Shadow Games and the ability to summon monster spirits called Ka. Speaking of Ka, the other entity that makes up the Dark Magician was the Ka summoned by Mahad, the Illusion Magician. When Thief King Bakura attacked the Pharaoh, Mahad led him to the Valley of Kings to try and stop him once and for all. After a long, hard-fought battle, Mahad fuses his soul, or Ba, with his Ka, Illusion Magician, creating the Dark Magician. Now, as the fused form of Dark Magician, he still served his Pharaoh as his ace monster in the entirety of the DM, manga, and anime. Now, with the backstory out of the way, let's talk about the build that I created to capture the flavor of the Dark Magician. To start off, I wanted to talk about some of the flavor that I pulled from. I decided to use the TCG that Dark Magician came from to pull a lot of the flavor for creating this character from. In the TCG, the Dark Magician is a level 7 vanilla spellcaster monster with 2500 attack and 2100 defense. I used this to come up with some of the stats and other abilities that the Dark Magician has. Also in the TCG, the Dark Magician deck has been turned into kind of a control-heavy deck, with spells and traps such as Eternal Soul and Dark Magic Attack. The Dark Magician deck has very clearly taken the role of controlled strategy. I decided to use this flavor in part of the character building with this, giving him powerful control spells such as Counterspell and Force Cage. I also did some of his abilities in the same vein, giving him abilities that let him teleport or give himself an illusion to trick enemies. So let's get right into everything that I did. To start off, I gave him an armor class of 21 with 210 hit points to help reflect the 2100 defense he has in the TCG. For his stats, I tried really getting what he does in the anime and in the trading card game to really put into perspective what his abilities would be. So a 14 strength, I believe, is very reasonable considering in his card art, he actually has like an 8-pack, which is absolutely insane, but he doesn't really do anything that should really constitute him having a higher strength. The big ability that is important here is his intelligence. I don't think he was a super intelligent, like mega mind thing where we would have a 30 intelligence, but I do believe he was smarter than the average person, so I gave him a 25 intelligence to help boost up his abilities that he would be using. If you noticed, I did give him a fly speed of 20 feet, and that's more of like a hover because he uses it all the time to hover and fly around. As you can see, he has legendary resistance and also magic resistance to help stave off any magical effects that try to be cast on him. He also has spellcasting, and with the spellcasting list that I gave him, I tried giving him the flavor of both damage dealing and control ability that he has in the TCG, giving him spells like Counterspell, Slow, and Gravity Sinkhole for control options, but also giving him powerful damage spells like Cone of Cold, Disintegrate, and Finger of Death. Now to talk about the other actions that he has, starting off with Dark Magic Attack. This is the main attack that he uses in the anime, and even has a card named after it, in which all it does is destroy all spells and traps that the opponent controls. I used kind of the flavor of both what it does in the anime and the card effect to come up with this, where it has a DC 21 Constitution saving throw and deals necrotic damage and can remove spell effects or magical effects that are affecting the enemy that gets hit by it. Also, as you see here, he has one called Thousand Knives. This is another one that he also uses in the anime quite often and has a card. This one is more purely damage dealing than, per se, Dark Magic Attack. For bonus actions, I only gave him one extra bonus action to use, just because I couldn't really think of anything else that the Dark Magician does that would constitute being a bonus action, but I gave him a powerful teleport that he can use 3 times a day. For legendary actions, I gave him the standard legendary actions that a spellcaster would have with being cantrip and just casting a spell, but I also gave him 2 other that I think really capture the flavor of the Dark Magician, with Illusion Magic and Mystic Box. The Illusion Magic helps him get away from enemies or trick enemies into attacking illusion that he has created. Mystic Box allows him to deal extra damage and teleport or stay where he is. Finally, I wanted to talk about some lair actions that I gave him that are optional to use. So I couldn't think of how we could put every magical ability that he uses in the TCG or the anime. So I created some lair actions to help fit in a couple of the extra ones that are more common that he uses. The first one being magical hats. He does this many times in the anime. This allows him to hide and possibly stave off some damage that he can do. Dark Magical Circle allows him to get rid of creatures so that he can save some more damage Dark Magical Circle allows him to get rid of creatures to help stave off some more damage that he would be taking if they were there. And Dark Magic Inheritance lets him get some spell slots back. As you can see, a lot of his defensive abilities come from either lair actions or legendary actions, and this is because he has a lower health pool than, say, something that a Challenge 18 creature would have. So I decided to give him some defensive abilities to help make up for that. And his offensive abilities are actually very powerful. They can deal a lot of damage very quickly, and he has a lot of options for that. This character will be made available on DND Beyond. I am not sponsored by them, but it is just a really cool website that I like to use for it. So if you want to see the full stat block, full explanation on there, it will be on there. And I will leave a link to it down in the description below. And that is how I created Dark Magician in the D&D setting. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for what you want to see on this series next, leave them down in the comments below. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!